Hello and welcome to a short video on a new piece of software for the Raspberry Pi. A recent post on the Raspberry Pi Foundation's blog announced a simple application to test the speed of SD cards and micro SD cards called Agnostics. This very short video demonstrates how to download, install, and use Agnostics on a Raspberry Pi Zero W. To download and install the application, 1. Boot the Raspberry Pi to the desktop. 2. Once the desktop appears, locate the terminal program in the upper left corner of the app bar. 3. On the app bar, click the terminal program. The terminal window opens. 3. In the terminal window, type sudo space app space update and press the enter key. Let's use the magic of video editing to speed through the process of doing the update. Let's press Ctrl L to clear the terminal. 4. In the terminal window, type sudo space app space upgrade and press the enter key. A prompt will appear requesting confirmation of the upgrade, so type capital letter Y and press the enter key to continue. The process of upgrading Raspbian may take several minutes, so let's use the magic of video editing to speed up the process. Once the upgrade is finished, let's press Ctrl L to clear the terminal. 5. Type sudo space app space install space agnostics and press the enter key. The Pi downloads and installs the application. A prompt will appear requesting confirmation of the installation, so type a capital Y and press the enter key to continue. Once again, the process of downloading and installing Agnostics may take a bit of time, so let's use the incredible magic of video editing to move quickly through the process. After the process is finished, 6. Close the terminal window. Before starting on using the software, make a note of the specifications of the micro SD card installed in your Pi. My Raspberry Pi Zero W has a Class 10 Samsung EVO 32GB micro SD card. If you're not familiar with how to read the specifications printed on your card, I encourage you to use the link in the description below to an excellent video on the topic by Chris Barnatt on his channel explaining computers. He also has an excellent video comparing the theoretical speeds of micro SD cards from several manufacturers with their actual speeds, as well as different models from the same manufacturer. Before running the test, let's take a minute to talk about the tests the software runs. The program runs 3 different tests. The first test is a sequential write speed test. The sequential write speed test measures the speed a device writes a large file to a storage device. According to the information provided by the SD Card Association, my Class 1 micro SD card should write a sequential file at 10 megabytes per second or 10,000 kilobits per second. The second test is a random write speed test. The random write speed test measures the speed that a device randomly writes small 4 kilobyte files all over a wide area of an SD card, which is approximately 8 gigabytes. The SD Card Association specifications indicate that my Class 1 micro SD card should write random files at 500 input-output operations per second. The third test is a random read speed test. The random read speed test measures the speed that a device randomly reads small 4 kilobyte files over a wide area of an SD card, approximately 8 gigabytes in size. Referring to the industry specifications, my Class 1 micro SD card should read random files at 1500 input-output operations per second. Now let's run the test to check the speed of my Pi's SD card. 1. Click the main menu. 2. Point to accessories. 3. Click the Raspberry Pi Diagnostics. 4. To the right of the SD card speed test on the Raspberry Pi Diagnostics window, verify that there's a check mark in the checkbox. If no check mark appears in the checkbox, then click the checkbox to enable the test. 5. On the Raspberry Pi Diagnostics Windows test, click the Run Tests button. The test may take a minute or so to run. Let's move through the process more quickly through the magic of editing. After the Pi runs the test, the results will appear to the right of the test. If the word pass appears, then the microSD card is in good condition. If the word fail appears, then the microSD card is in poor condition, and perhaps it's time to back up the SD card and reformat it or replace it. The result of my test seems a bit ominous, as my SD card failed the test. Let's see why the SD cards failed the test using the Show Log button. To display the details of the tests, 1. On the Raspberry Pi Diagnostics test window, click the Show Log button. A text file appears with a report detailing the results of each of the tests. The first 4 lines of the report document the program's test preparation and testing of the microSD card. First, it created a file for each of the tests. Next, it carried out the sequential write test. Next, it carried out the random write test, and then finally the random read test. The next section of the report reviews each of the test results. For each test, the program gives 2 numbers. The first number outside the parentheses is the speed of the device measured by the program. The second number inside the parentheses is the speed of the device given by the SD card association. Let's check my test results to see why my micro SD card failed. For the sequential write test, my micro SD card scored 10,306 kilobits per second on the first test, 10,248 kilobytes per second on the second test, 12,767 kilobytes on the third test. All of these scores exceed the target of 10,000 kilobytes. This is excellent news because my micro SD card averaged 11,107 kilobits per second. Now let's look at the results of the random write test and the random read test. For the random write test, my micro SD card scored 88 input-output operations per second on the first test, 565 input-output operations on the second test, and 462 input-output operations on the third test. These results are worrisome because the target value for this test is 500 input-output operations per second. Since 2 of the test results were less than the target, this test failed. Finally, let's look at the results for the random read test. For the random read test, my micro SD card scored 1,338 input-output operations on the first test, 1,358 input operations on the second test, and 1,383 input-output operations on the third test. These results are concerning because the target value for this test is 1,500 input operations per second. Since the result of this test was less than the target value, this test also failed. Now that we're finished reviewing the report, let's complete our look at Agnostics by closing the report and the application. 1. In the upper right-hand corner of the report, click the Close box. 2. On the Raspberry Pi Diagnostics test window, click the Close button. One of the essential components of a working Raspberry Pi computer is a micro SD card. The Raspberry Pi Foundation created the Agnostics application so Pi owners can get some basic information about the health of their micro SD card. In this video, you learned how to install and run Agnostics. First, the video demonstrated how to download and install the program using sudo apt install command. After downloading and installing the application, the video explained how to run a test on the micro SD card. Finally, the video showed how to read and interpret the results. Until the next video, best wishes.